I was standing in the closing office when my mother's face went white. She didn't know I'd be there. Nobody did. 5 minutes. That's how close she came to stealing everything I'd built. But let me back up, because the way this started, you need to hear it. 3 weeks earlier, I was in California. Finally. A consulting contract I'd chased for 2 years had come through, and for the first time since my divorce, I felt like I could breathe. No one knew where I was. Not my colleagues. Not my friends. Especially not my mother. I'd told her I was in Massachusetts. A small lie. The kind you tell when you know someone will find a way to ruin good news if you give them the chance. Linda, my mom, she's always had this way of making my wins feel temporary. Like everything I accomplished was just luck, and any day now, reality would correct itself. When I bought my house in Connecticut 3 years after the divorce, she didn't say congratulations. She said, "That's a lot of responsibility for one person." The house sat on Willow Lane. White siding. A maple tree out front that turned deep red every fall. I'd saved for years, working double shifts in the city, putting every extra dollar away. That house wasn't just where I lived. It was proof that I didn't need anyone's permission to rebuild my life. So when I got the voicemail, I thought it was a mistake. I was sitting in a coffee shop in San Francisco, going over contract revisions, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Connecticut area code. The message was from a man named Greg Holloway. A realtor. "Emily, I'm calling regarding the property at 142 Willow Lane. We're scheduled to close next Friday. Your mother has signed all preliminary documents, but we still need your confirmation." I played it again. Then again. My chest felt tight. Close? My house? I hadn't listed my house. I called my mother. Straight to voicemail. I texted. Nothing. 2 hours passed. I called 4 more times. When she finally answered, she sounded relaxed. Almost cheerful. "Oh, honey. I was in the garden." "What's wrong? What's wrong?" My voice came out sharper than I meant. "I just got a call from a realtor. About my house." There was a pause. Not the confused kind. The careful kind. "Right. I was going to tell you this weekend. The market's really strong right now, and when this opportunity came up, I didn't want you to miss it. You've been so stressed with work. I thought you'd be relieved." "Relieved? You're selling my house." "We're selling your house. It's a cash offer. Quick close. My friend Diane's son is buying it. He's a lovely young man, just got married. It's perfect timing." My hands were shaking. I didn't agree to this. Another pause. "Sweetheart, you don't need to worry about the details. I have power of attorney. Remember? After the divorce, when things were difficult. You signed the paperwork. It's all legal." The coffee shop noise faded. I heard my pulse in my ears. Power of attorney. I did remember. Barely. A stack of papers during the worst year of my life. My ex-husband had just left. I was broke, exhausted, and my mother kept saying, "Let me help you. You need someone." I'd signed because I had no one else. I never thought she'd use it like this. "Who's buying it?" I asked slowly. "I told you. Diane's son, Marcus. He's offering fair market value. More than fair, actually. Too convenient. Her friend's son. A quick sale while I was out of state. I need to see the contract." "Of course. Greg can send everything over. But Emily, the closing is Friday. We can't delay. Marcus has his financing lined up, and..." "Send me everything." I hung up. My coffee had gone cold. People around me were laughing, typing, living normal days. I opened my laptop and emailed Greg Holloway. I kept my tone professional, cooperative even. I asked for copies of every document. Every signature. Every clause. Because something in my mother's voice, that practiced calm, told me this wasn't a favor. This was a plan. And I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with before she realized I was asking questions. The documents arrived in my inbox at 11 p.m. I was still awake. I'd been staring at my phone for hours, searching my memory for what I'd signed 4 years ago. The divorce had destroyed me in ways I didn't talk about. My ex didn't just leave, he left me with debt, a lease I couldn't afford, and this crushing sense that I'd failed at the one thing everyone told me I was supposed to get right. My mother showed up the week after he moved out. She didn't ask if I needed help. She just started managing things. Sorting my mail. Calling my landlord. Bringing groceries. At first, it felt like love. Then one afternoon, she put a folder on my kitchen table. "These are just formalities," she'd said. "In case something happens. Medical decisions, financial things. It's what responsible adults do." I'd been crying for 3 days straight. I couldn't think. Could barely function. So I signed. Page after page, my signature getting sloppier as I went. She'd pointed to each line, handed me the pen, and I'd signed because trusting her was easier than questioning her. That memory made my stomach turn now. I opened Greg's email. 12 attachments. The first was the sales contract. Marcus Holloway, Diane's son, offering $485,000. Cash. 30-day close. The second was a copy of the power of attorney. I read it 3 times. It granted my mother authority over my financial and legal decisions. Broad authority. The kind that could absolutely allow her to sell my house. But then I saw the date at the bottom. Effective immediately upon signing. Valid for 18 months unless renewed. I checked the signature date, April 2021. I did the math. It had expired in October 2022. A year and a half ago. I sat back. My hotel room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. The contract was invalid. She didn't have the authority to sell my house. Not anymore. But she didn't know I knew that. I kept reading. The notarization. The witness signatures. The disclosures. Everything looked legitimate. Professional. My mother had always been good at making things look right. I thought about calling her. Confronting her right then. But something stopped me. She'd gone to a lot of trouble. Contacted a realtor. Lined up a buyer. Set a closing date. She thought she'd already won. What if I let her keep thinking that? I closed my laptop. Opened a new browser tab. Searched for real estate attorneys in New York. Because if she was going to play games with my life, I needed someone who knew the rules better than she did. I booked a flight. Not to Connecticut. To New Jersey. I had a friend there, Zara, from college. Someone my mother didn't know about. I'd watch from a distance. Let her make her moves. And when the time was right, I'd show her exactly what happens when you underestimate the person you tried to control. She wanted to sell my house while I was gone. Fine. Let's see how that works out for her. The attorney's name was Richard Chen. His office was in Lower Manhattan, 14th floor, with windows that overlooked the kind of city chaos that used to overwhelm me. Now it felt fitting. I'd flown into Newark the night before and taken a cab to Zara's apartment in Hoboken. She'd asked questions, of course she did, but I kept my answers vague. Family stuff. Legal stuff. I'd explain later. Richard's assistant brought me coffee I didn't drink. When he walked in, he was younger than I expected. Maybe 40. Sharp suit. No wedding ring. He shook my hand and sat down across from me like we were about to discuss something routine. I slid the folder across his desk. My mother is trying to sell my house. I need to know if she can. He opened the folder. Started reading. His expression didn't change for the first few pages. Then his eyebrows went up slightly. This power of attorney expired. I know. Does she know? I don't think so. He kept reading. Flipping between the POA and the sales contract. Making notes on a legal pad. The closing is in 9 days. Friday. And you haven't told her you're aware of any of this? Not yet. He looked up at me. There was something in his eyes, not judgment exactly. More like curiosity. What do you want to do? That was the question, wasn't it? I could call her right now. Tell her the contract was worthless. Stop everything. Or I could let her walk into that closing office thinking she'd gotten away with it. I want to know my options, I said. Richard nodded. He leaned back in his chair, tapping his pen against the legal pad. Option 1, I send a cease and desist. The sale stops immediately. Clean. Quiet. No drama. And option 2? You let it continue. Show up at closing with documentation. Confront her publicly. More theatrical. But also more risk. Risk of what? Damage to family relationships. Potential escalation. Depends what your goal is here. I stared out the window. A helicopter passed between buildings. My goal. What was my goal? To protect my house? I could do that with a phone call. But this wasn't really about the house anymore, was it? This was about my mother looking at my life and deciding she knew better. Deciding I was too incompetent, too overwhelmed, too weak to make my own choices. This was about her thinking she could manage me like I was still a child who didn't understand consequences. I want to wait, I said. Richard made another note. Understood. I'll prepare a package, certified copies of the expired POA, documentation proving you're the sole owner, a notarized statement revoking any and all prior authorizations. Will that be enough? He hesitated. That hesitation made my pulse quicken. What? I want to verify something first. The notarization on this power of attorney. I want to check if it's legitimate. Why wouldn't it be? Because if your mother is willing to use an expired document to sell your house, I want to make sure everything else is exactly what it appears to be. He pulled out his phone and took photos of the notary seal. Give me 24 hours. I have a contact who can verify these things quickly. I left his office with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. My mother hadn't just overstepped. She'd gambled that I wouldn't notice. Wouldn't check. Wouldn't fight back. And that gamble was about to cost her everything. I walked back through the city, my phone buzzing in my pocket. A text from Linda, hope your Massachusetts trip is going well. Only 8 days until closing. So exciting. 8 days. I didn't respond. Let her count them down. Zara's apartment was small but felt safe. She worked from home, something in tech I never fully understood, and didn't ask questions when I told her I needed a quiet place to work for a week. Stay as long as you need, she'd said, handing me a spare key. That first morning, I sat at her kitchen table with my laptop and started watching. My mother's Facebook page loaded slowly. She wasn't active on social media usually, but lately she'd been posting more. 3 days ago, a photo of her garden. Caption, getting the house ready for some big changes. 2 days ago, a share from a real estate blog. 5 reasons cash offers are better for sellers. Yesterday, a photo of her and Diane at lunch. Caption, celebrating family milestones with my oldest friend. Each post had comments. What changes? So exciting, Linda. You deserve this. I scrolled through her messages to relatives. She'd been busy. To my aunt, Emily's finally making some smart financial decisions. I'm helping her through a transition period. To my cousin, she's overwhelmed with work right now. This will be such a relief for her. Transition period. Relief. She was rewriting the whole thing. Making herself the hero. Making me the confused daughter who needed rescuing. My hands were shaking. Zara came into the kitchen, saw my face. You okay? She's telling everyone I asked for her help. Zara looked at the screen. Read the messages. Wow. She actually believes this. She thinks she's doing me a favor. Or she's covering her tracks, Zara said quietly. If everyone thinks you agreed, it's harder for you to claim otherwise later. That hadn't occurred to me. But Zara was right. Linda wasn't just selling my house. She was building a narrative. A story where she was protective and helpful, and I was just too busy to handle my own affairs. My phone rang. Richard Chen. I answered immediately. I have news, he said. The notarization on your power of attorney. I had it analyzed. And? The notary stamp is legitimate. But the signature doesn't match the notary's authorized signature on file with the state. My breath caught. What does that mean? It means someone forged a notary signature to make your power of attorney look legitimate. Which means this isn't just about an expired document anymore. The kitchen tilted slightly. That's fraud. Yes. She could go to prison. Richard's voice was careful. If you wanted to pursue criminal charges, yes. Forgery of a notarized document is a felony in Connecticut. But Emily, before you make any decisions, you need to understand, once you go down that road, there's no taking it back. I looked at Zara. She was watching me, her expression unreadable. How long do I have to decide? Until Friday. But I need to know what you want to do before we walk into that closing. I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up. Zara sat down across from me. What are you thinking? I didn't answer right away. Because what I was thinking terrified me. My mother hadn't just made a mistake. She'd committed a crime. And part of me, a part one didn't recognize, wanted to watch her face when she realized what she'd done. I didn't sleep that night. Forgery. The word kept running through my head, changing shape every time. Forgery meant intent. Meant planning. Meant my mother had sat down, looked at that document, and made a choice to fake a notary signature because she knew, she had to have known, that what she was doing wasn't legal. At 3 a.m., I was still sitting on Zara's couch, staring at my phone. I pulled up photos from 2 years ago. Thanksgiving. My mother and I standing in her kitchen, both smiling. Had she been thinking about this even then? Planning how to take control whenever the opportunity came up? Or was this recent? A sudden decision when she saw the market was good and I was conveniently out of state? I didn't know which option was worse. Zara found me there in the morning, still in the same position. You need to eat something, she said. I need to decide what kind of person I am. She sat down next to me. What do you mean? I have 3 options. Richard laid them out. I counted them on my fingers. 1. I stop the sale quietly. Send legal notice. The contract dies. Everything goes back to normal. She never faces consequences, but I keep my house and we move on. Zara nodded. 2. I show up at closing. Stop it publicly. Humiliate her in front of the realtor and the buyer. She knows I know, but I still don't press charges. It's about making a point. And 3. I call the police. Report the forgery. Let the state handle it. She gets arrested. Prosecuted. Possibly prison time. The room was quiet except for traffic outside. What does Richard recommend? He won't say. He says it depends on what I want the outcome to be. What do you want? That was the question I'd been avoiding. Did I want justice? Revenge? Protection? Peace? My phone buzzed. Another text from Linda, just talked to Marcus. He's so excited about the house. This is going to be wonderful for everyone. Wonderful for everyone. I showed Zara the message. She still thinks she's winning, Zara said. Because I've let her think that. So what are you going to do? I thought about my divorce. About signing those papers while crying in my kitchen. About every time my mother had looked at my choices and decided they were wrong. About the house I'd bought with my own money, my own work, my own determination to prove I didn't need saving. I'm going to let the sale continue. Zara's eyes widened. You're going to let her walk into closing? With Richard. With documentation. With proof of everything she did. That's option 2. Yes. Not 3. You're not pressing charges. I thought about that. Prison. My mother in handcuffs. Court proceedings. Family members taking sides. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I don't know. Why not? Because if she goes to prison, it ends quickly. She becomes the victim. The daughter who turned on her mother. But if I stop her at closing, if I show her exactly how badly she miscalculated, she has to live with it. Every day. She has to wake up knowing she tried to steal from me and failed. Zara was quiet for a long moment. That's cold. Is it? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, that's not the Emily I knew in college. She was right. College Emily would have cried. Would have called her mother and begged for an explanation. Would have somehow found a way to blame herself. But college Emily didn't know what it felt like to rebuild your entire life from nothing, only to have someone try to take it away while you weren't looking. People change, I said. I texted Richard, option 2. I'll be there Friday. Prepare everything. His response came immediately, understood. I'll arrange our entrance for maximum effect. Do not contact your mother before then. I wouldn't have anyway. Because the best part of this, the part that almost made me smile, was that she had no idea I was coming. She thought I was in Massachusetts. She thought I trusted her. She thought she'd won. And I was going to let her think that for 4 more days. Monday morning, my mother called. I was in a coffee shop 3 blocks from Zara's apartment, reviewing Richard's prep documents for the 3rd time. I let it ring twice before answering. Had to sound normal. Distracted. Busy with work. Hey, Mom. Sweetheart, I haven't heard from you in days. How's Massachusetts? Busy. The client keeps changing requirements. A lie delivered smoothly. I'd practiced it. Well, don't let them take advantage of you. You're too accommodating sometimes. The irony burned. I'll manage. What's up? Just confirming you got the paperwork from Greg. Everything looks good on our end. Marcus is thrilled. He and his wife already picked out paint colors. Our end. As if we were partners in this. That's nice, I said flatly. You don't sound excited. I'm tired, Mom. Can we talk about this later? A pause. I could hear her recalculating. Of course. I know you're stressed. That's why I'm handling everything. You don't need to worry about a single detail. My coffee tasted like ash. Thanks. I'll text you the closing time on Friday. 2 p.m. I know you're far away, but maybe you can join by phone? Greg said they can set that up. Join by phone while she signed away my house. Maybe. I'll see how the week goes. Okay, honey. Love you. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone. Love you. Did she actually believe that? That stealing from me was love? Tuesday, She posted a photo on Facebook. Her and Diane again. Wine glasses raised. Caption, to new beginnings and fresh starts. 63 likes. Comments poured in. What's the occasion? You look so happy, Linda. Spill the tea. She responded to each one, just helping my daughter with a big life change. Can't say more yet, but exciting things ahead. I screenshot everything. Richard had told me to document it all. Every post. Every message. Every phone call. If this goes sideways, he'd said, we need to show her state of mind. Her awareness of what she was doing. Wednesday, the buyer's family started moving boxes into a storage unit. I knew because Diane posted about it. Tagged Linda. So grateful for friends who bring families together. Marcus responded, can't wait to make this house a home. They had no idea. Marcus and his wife, they were just kids, really. Mid-20s. Newlyweds. Probably saved for years for a cash down payment. They thought they were buying a house from a woman who had legal authority to sell it. Part of me felt bad for them. But I hadn't created this mess. Thursday night, Linda left me a voicemail. I was having dinner with Zara when my phone buzzed. I didn't answer. Later, I listened to it alone in the guest room. Emily, honey, it's Mom. Tomorrow's the big day. I know you're busy with work, but I just wanted to say. I'm proud of us. This whole process has reminded me how lucky I am to have a daughter who trusts me to look out for her. Some people don't have that. Anyway. I'll be thinking of you tomorrow. This is going to be wonderful. For both of us. Her voice cracked slightly at the end. She actually believed it. That's what made it worse. She genuinely thought she was helping me. Protecting me. Making decisions I was too incompetent to make myself. I deleted the voicemail. Then I pulled out the outfit I'd chosen for tomorrow. Navy suit. White blouse. The one I wore to important meetings. Professional. Unshakable. Richard had texted earlier, we'll arrive at 1:55 p.m. 5 minutes before signing. I'll have all documents in a leather portfolio. Follow my lead. Do not speak until I give you the signal. I'd read it a dozen times. 5 minutes before she thought she'd won. That's when I'd walk through the door. I set my alarm for 6 a.m. Connecticut was a 3-hour drive from Hoboken. I wanted to be early. Wanted to sit in my car outside that office and watch her arrive. Watch her walk in with confidence, thinking today was her victory. I fell asleep around midnight. And for the first time all week, I didn't have nightmares. The office was in a strip mall off Route 1. Generic. Forgettable. The kind of place where routine transactions happen every day. I'd been parked across the street since noon. Richard was in his own car 2 spaces down. We'd agreed not to arrive together. Didn't want to tip anyone off. At 1:47, a silver Honda pulled into the lot. My mother. She was wearing a cream-colored blazer. Carrying a leather folder. She checked her reflection in the car window before walking inside. Confident. Unhurried. At 1:52, a younger couple arrived. Had to be Marcus and his wife. They held hands walking to the door. She was laughing at something he said. My chest tightened. They had no idea they were about to lose this house. At 1:54, Richard texted, time. I got out of my car. My legs felt strange. Like they belonged to someone else. Richard met me at the entrance. He was carrying a black leather portfolio, exactly as he'd described. Ready? He asked. I nodded. Remember. Don't speak until I tell you to. Let me control the room. He opened the door. The office was small. Beige walls. Fluorescent lights. A conference table in the center with 6 chairs. My mother sat on one side, her folder open in front of her. Greg the realtor was at the head of the table, organizing documents. Marcus and his wife sat across from my mother, both looking nervous and excited. Nobody looked at the door when we walked in. Not at first. Then Greg glanced up. "Can I help you?" Richard's voice was calm. Professional. Richard Chen. "I'm Ms. Parker's attorney." Greg looked confused. "Ms. Parker already has representation through Emily Parker." That's when my mother turned. The color drained from her face in real time. It would have been satisfying if it wasn't so terrifying. "Emily?" Her voice came out wrong. Too high. "What are you doing here?" Marcus and his wife exchanged glances. Richard stepped forward, placing the portfolio on the table. "I represent Emily Parker, the sole legal owner of 142 Willow Lane. We're here to address several irregularities in this transaction." Greg's confusion deepened. "I don't understand." "Mrs. Parker has power of attorney." Everything was verified. The power of attorney in question expired 18 months ago. Silence. You could hear the air conditioning hum. My mother found her voice. "That's not, Emily, there's been a misunderstanding." Richard opened the portfolio. Placed documents on the table one by one. Certified copy of the original power of attorney. Valid from April 2021 to October 2022. Expired. He placed another page. Deed to 142 Willow Lane. Sole owner, Emily Parker. No co-signers. No joint ownership. Another page. Notarized statement from Emily Parker, dated yesterday, explicitly revoking any and all prior legal authorizations. Marcus stood up. "Wait. What's happening?" His wife grabbed his arm. Richard looked at Greg. "This sale cannot proceed. Mrs. Linda Parker does not have legal authority to sell this property. She never did." Greg's face went red. Then white. The notarization was verified. "I checked." "You checked an expired document. But the notary seal was forged." The room went completely still. That word hung in the air like smoke. Forged. My mother's hands were shaking. "Emily, please. Let me explain. This is all a misunderstanding. I was trying to help you." "Stop." Everyone turned to me. It was the first word I'd spoken since entering the room. Richard nodded. "My signal." I looked at my mother. At her trembling hands. Her desperate eyes. "You forged a notary signature to sell my house without my permission. That's not help. That's fraud." Marcus's wife gasped. Greg stood up so fast his chair scraped. "I need to make a phone call." He left the room. Marcus looked between me and my mother. "You don't own this house?" "No," I said. "She doesn't. But we've been packing. We put our furniture in storage." His voice broke. His wife started crying. And I felt it then. The full weight of what my mother had done. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd lied to these people. Let them plan a future in a home they'd never own. Marcus turned to my mother. "You told us this was legitimate." She couldn't look at him. I believed. "You committed fraud," Richard said quietly. "Against your daughter. Against these buyers. Against the state of Connecticut." My mother's face crumpled. She reached for my hand across the table. I pulled back. "Emily. Please. I'm your mother. That's supposed to mean something." Her eyes filled with tears. And for just a second, one brief, horrible second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the voicemail. "I'm proud of us." The sympathy vanished. Greg returned, phone still in his hand. He looked sick. This sale is cancelled. Immediately. Marcus, I'm so sorry. We'll refund your earnest money within 48 hours. Marcus didn't respond. He just stood there, staring at nothing. His wife was still crying. They left without another word. The door closed behind them. Now it was just the four of us. Me. Richard. Greg. And my mother. Who finally understood what she'd lost. Greg wouldn't look at my mother. He gathered the unsigned documents with shaking hands, stuffing them back into folders like they might contaminate him. I'll need to report this, he said, to no one in particular. To my broker. Possibly to the state licensing board. My mother finally spoke. Her voice was small. Unfamiliar. Greg, I didn't mean for, this wasn't supposed to. You used a forged document to initiate a real estate transaction. His words were clipped. Professional anger. Do you understand what that means for me? For my business? She didn't answer. He looked at me. At Richard. Will you be pressing charges? Richard glanced at me. This was the moment. Criminal charges meant police. Prosecutors. Court dates. My mother's name in public records. Not today, I said. Greg's shoulders dropped slightly. Relief, maybe. Or just exhaustion. I'll send you documentation of the cancellation by end of business. He grabbed his briefcase. I need to call Marcus. Try to. I don't know. Explain. He left. The door closed with a soft click. Now it was just the three of us. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Someone's phone was ringing in another office, muffled through the walls. My mother sat frozen in her chair. Richard placed one more document on the table. This is a formal revocation of all legal permissions. It terminates any claim Mrs. Parker might believe she has to make decisions on Emily's behalf. Financial, medical, legal, everything. He slid it toward her. You need to sign it. She looked at the paper like it might bite her. Emily. Her voice cracked. Can we talk? Alone? No. Please. I know you're angry, but if you just let me explain. Explain what? The words came out harder than I intended. Explain how you forged a notary signature. Explain how you were going to sell my house and pocket the money. I wasn't going to pocket it. The money would have gone to you. After you took your management fee? Her mouth opened. Closed. She had no answer for that. Because we both knew the truth. She'd have found a way to control that money too. To make decisions about how I spent it, where I lived next, what was best for me. Richard tapped the document. Sign it. Her hands were still shaking as she picked up the pen. She signed. Fast. Sloppy. Like she wanted it over with. Richard took the paper, witnessed the signature, and placed it in his portfolio. You're free to go, Mrs. Parker. She didn't move. Just sat there, staring at the table. Then she looked up at me. Her eyes were red but dry now. All the tears had stopped. I was trying to protect you. From what? From making mistakes. From being alone. From living my own life. Silence. You don't understand, she whispered. After your father died, after your divorce, I couldn't watch you struggle anymore. I couldn't just stand by Anne. So you decided to steal from me. That's not what this was. Then what was it? She didn't have an answer. Or maybe she did, and she knew I wouldn't accept it. She stood up slowly. Gathered her folder. Her purse. At the door, she turned back. You'll regret this. Not an apology. A threat. Will I? She left. I watched through the window as she walked to her car. Got in. Sat there for a long moment before starting the engine. Then she drove away. Richard closed his portfolio. You did well. I don't feel good. You're not supposed to. But you protected yourself. That's what matters. I nodded. But sitting in that empty office, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, I didn't feel protected. I felt hollowed out. Like something had been removed that I didn't know how to replace. What happens now? I asked. Richard stood up. Now we make sure she can never do this again. We moved to a quieter office down the hall. Richard's laptop was already open. He'd prepared everything in advance. Before we proceed, you need to understand what you're holding, he said. He turned the screen toward me. Connecticut General Statutes. Chapter 952. Forgery and related offenses. Forgery of a notary seal is a Class D felony. 2 to 5 years. Possible fines up to $5,000. The numbers didn't feel real. That's if the state prosecutes. Which they would, given the documentation we have. But I said I wasn't pressing charges. You said, not today. That's not the same as never. He pulled up another document. This is what I recommend. A legally binding agreement. Your mother admits to the forgery. Agrees to permanent revocation of any legal authority. Changes to your will, your medical directives, your financial accounts, everything gets updated with explicit exclusions. And if she refuses? Then we file a police report. Today. I looked at the agreement. 12 pages. Legal language I only half understood. But the core was clear. She'd lose access to everything. Not just legal authority. Everything. She'll never speak to me again, I said quietly. Richard leaned back. Is that a loss? The question hit different than I expected. Was it? A mother who'd forged documents to sell my house? Who'd lied to a young couple? Who'd spent a week telling relatives I needed her help while planning to profit from my absence? I don't know, I admitted. You don't have to decide about your relationship today. But you do need to decide about protecting yourself. He was right. I took a photo of the agreement with my phone. Send this to her. Tell her she has 24 hours to sign it, or we go to the police. Richard nodded. He forwarded the document to my email. You should send it. Coming from you carries more weight. I opened my email. Attached the PDF. Started typing. Mom. This is the agreement my attorney prepared. You have until 2 p.m. tomorrow to sign it and return it. If you don't, we're filing criminal charges for forgery and fraud. This isn't negotiable. Emily. My finger hovered over send. Once I pressed it, there was no going back. No pretending this was fixable with a conversation. No chance she'd apologize and we'd somehow move past it. This was the end. I pressed send. The response came 6 hours later. I was back at Zara's apartment, staring at my phone like it might explode. The email was short. I'll sign. But you need to know, I never wanted to hurt you. I only wanted to help. Someday you'll understand that. Mom. No apology. Just justification. Richard called 20 minutes later. She signed. Electronically. It's binding. That's it? That's it. You're protected. Legally, financially, medically. She has no access. No authority. No claim. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt numb. Emily? Richard's voice softened. You did the right thing. Then why does it feel like this? Because she's still your mother. And grief doesn't ask permission. After we hung up, I sat on Zara's couch for a long time. My phone buzzed. A text from Linda. I changed your diapers. I stayed up nights when you had fever. I taught you to read. To drive. I was there for every moment of your life. And this is how you repay me. I stared at the message. She still didn't get it. Still thought this was about gratitude. About owing her something. Not about trust. Or boundaries. Or the fact that love doesn't include forgery. I blocked her number. Then I called the bank. Changed my passwords. Updated my will to explicitly exclude her. Every safety measure Richard had recommended. By midnight, it was done. Linda Parker no longer had access to any part of my life. And I was completely, utterly alone. 3 months later, I was still in the house on Willow Lane. The maple tree out front had dropped its leaves. Winter was settling in. I'd changed the locks the week after closing. New deadbolt. New garage code. New alarm system. Physical barriers for a threat that was already gone. I heard through my aunt that Linda was telling people I'd misunderstood her intentions. That she'd been trying to help during a difficult time, and I'd overreacted. Some relatives believed her. I didn't correct them. Let her have her version. I had the truth. Last week, I saw her at the grocery store. She was in the produce section. I was 3 aisles over. We made eye contact across the store. She didn't approach. Didn't wave. Just looked at me for a long moment, then turned away. I finished my shopping and left. People ask if I forgive her. I don't answer anymore. Because forgiveness isn't what she needs. Consequences are. And I gave her the one thing she could never manipulate her way out of, the truth about who she really is. A woman who loved control more than she loved her daughter. A woman who mistook my trust for weakness. A woman who gambled everything on the belief that I wouldn't fight back. She lost that gamble. And now she has to live with it. Some nights, I sit in my living room and think about what she said. Someday you'll understand. Maybe I will. Maybe someday I'll look back and see something I'm missing now. But today, right now, all I understand is this. The people who truly love you don't need power of attorney to prove it. They don't forge signatures. They don't sell your home while you're away. They don't mistake control for care. Real love doesn't need legal documents. It just needs respect. And my mother never learned the difference. So I taught her. The hard way. The only way she'd understand. And I'd do it again.